Coming to paperback and e-readers from the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women are becoming lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Pre-order your copy of The Woman Crisis on Amazon.com today. A woman was attacked by a group of teenagers on a Washington, D.C. bus. All video is used under fair use of United States copyright law.
Come on, y'all, we gotta get the money.
Now, in this incident, Kyla Thurston, a black woman, was riding on a bus when she saw another woman who had two children with her on the bus. And after she gave up her seat to help the woman with the two children who were ages 2 and 7, there were a group of teenagers who got on the bus and they started getting loud and they started using profanity. Now, on hearing these teenagers getting on this bus and getting profane and loud, your Kyla Thurston allegedly then told the teenagers to stop using profanity because there were two small children on the bus. That is when these teenagers became children of the corn, and these children of the corn then decided to go out here and confront an older person who was Kyla Thurston, and as they confronted her, they started to get loud and argumentative. Then they also started to physically assault her as things got more heated. Now, as they were assaulting this older woman, as the bus was going on, she requested for some help from the driver, but the driver couldn't help her because he was basically trying to drive the bus as well. And as the bus came to a stop, these teenagers then, after assaulting this older woman, then decided they wanted to throw this woman off the bus and basically shoved her off the bus at the end of the incident. Now, the police possibly see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the violent assault that your Kyla Thurston went through, it fits the pattern and profile for your beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, and it also fits the chapter where I talk about the children of the corn in my upcoming book, The Woman Crisis, because the only children who would go out here and look to attack a older person is a child of the corn, and the way we get children of the corn like this is due to the dysfunctional way we raise children to here in America. Because the dysfunctional way we raise children here in America, they learn no respect for authority figures like elders. Now, back when I was a child, we often learned how to respect our elders, and when an elder told us to stop whatever behavior we participated in, we showed respect to that elder by stopping what we were doing because we understood that we needed to respect the older people in our community because they were our leaders, they were our authority figures, and we needed to respect authority. Unfortunately, due to the fact that many of America's children have not been raised by parents, due to many of these mothers not being in the home because they're out working and the man is out working, no one is teaching these children respect for adults, and because they're not learning respect for adults, This is why you have teenagers out here, when confronted by an older authority figure, what they do is look to challenge that person because they don't respect their authority and they don't respect them as an elder. And because they do not respect that person as an elder, they look to go out here and believe that they have a right to challenge an elder, and they also believe they have a right to put their hands on an elder. This was something that would have never happened 40 years ago, back in the 1980s, because in the 1980s, if you were to even speak loudly to an older person, other older people would have been putting hands on that group of teens and letting them know who the adult was in the room. Unfortunately, over the last 40 years, we've seen a complete breakdown of the family, and because we have seen a complete breakdown of the family, the children raised over the last 40 to 60 years have started to grow up like stalks, and because they're growing up like stalks without any sort of parental guidance or any sort of parents asserting themselves as leaders or authority figures, what we're getting are these children of the corn, and these children of the corn are inflicting carnage on people, like what transpired in the video of what happened to Kyla Thurston. What happened to Kyla Thurston is what happens when you have to deal with these children of the corn, and when these children of the corn enter into a vehicle like a bus, these individuals, they will go out here and look to attack anyone who challenges them or anyone who does not challenge them, because all you have to do is have a look of fear, and these individuals will look to go out here and attack you because they have no sense of discipline, no sense of self-control, and no sense of respect for elders. And because they have no respect for elders, this is what makes them dangerous individuals to engage with. Now, I believe your Kyla Thurston possibly made a mistake by engaging these children of the corn. Now, I know she was noble in trying to get them to stop behaving badly, but when I have to go out here and travel, I've had to deal with these children of the corn on a bus or a train, and the only way you can deal with these individuals is to just not make any eye contact and walk right off of whatever bus or train they're on and wait for either another bus or wait for another train, because there's no way you can deal with these children of the corn. If they are in your vicinity, the best thing to do is to get away from them, because these individuals are just completely broken. And the thing is, you want to mitigate the harm they can do to you. So the best thing to do is to just walk away from them and leave them to wherever they are, because you as an individual don't have enough power to deal with them, because our society won't deal with them. Now, again, back in the day, we used to deal with these children of the corn at an early age by going out here and not sparing the rod. And because we did this, we wound up with disciplined children who weren't spoiled. But sadly, due to the last couple of years of far left parenting and parents not being in the home, what's happened is these children have not had the rod presented to them, and they have not been disciplined. And because they're not disciplined, they are out of control. So this again is connected to the way we raise children in America. And what's really troubling here about what happened to Kyla Thurston is it's fitting a pattern as related to the escalating violence of these children of the corn. And again, I've been doing these videos ever since 2015, where I started to see the start of these children of the corn. And that was when your Freddie Gray was allegedly murdered by police. And that's when we saw the first of these children of the corn tearing up Baltimore. And as we're almost 10 years into it, these children of the corn have been escalating their behavior all across the country, because I've done videos about children of the corn in all over the country, like in Chicago, where there were large groups just wandering the streets. And recently, I just did one in Pennsylvania where they basically tore up a Wawa store. And again, all of these stories are connected because it shows a complete collapse of the American family. And because the American family is completely collapsed, what's happening is we're seeing more of these incidents with these children of the corn wreaking havoc all over the place. And what the sad part is, most Americans can't connect the dot to see that it is related due to the way we have been raising children in this country for the last 60 years. Now, many people say you cannot talk about the way we raise children because you can't tell people how to parent. But the irony is that back in the 1950s, guys like Dr. Spock taught us to parent our children differently. People in the feminist movement thought there was a different way you could raise a boy to become a man, and they thought that a woman could raise children on her own. And they listened to those people back in the day when they told them how to raise children. But we see the results of their approaches to raising children, creating these children of the corn, but you can't tell people how to raise their children. Ironically, people can't see how it is these dysfunctional approaches that these people came out with over 60 years ago that are leading to the children of the corn that are terrorizing communities all across this country. And many people can't see how the way we raise children is teaching them how to have no respect for adults, no respect for adult authority figures, no respect for any sort of adult. And this is what's leading to these young children winding up becoming children of the corn, who even law enforcement officers cannot even deal with as related to going out here and getting them to follow the lead of an authority figure. This is what happens when there is no solid family structure for 2 to 3 generations, because when there is no solid family structure for 2 to 3 generations and children are basically raising themselves in front of devices like televisions and now smartphones, what happens is that your children don't learn to respect adults as authority figures, and they don't learn to regard adults as authority figures. Instead, what they start doing is looking to their peers, and as they're looking to their peers, what they're learning to do is see their peers as people that they respect, and that's why they have no respect for an elder. And again, this is all due to the dysfunctional way we have been raising children, and we're raising children not to become children who can grow up to become functional adults. No, what we're doing is raising children to become children of the corn, and these children of the corn have the audacity to believe it's okay to disrespect an elder and just violently assault an elder who is telling them to go out here and then stop using profanity, because it's just not what you do when you see a small child who is 2 years old and another one who is 7 on a bus. I mean, I wouldn't even want to get loud like that on a bus or a subway, because it's about showing respect for other people who are trying to ride on the bus or a train. Because when you're on transportation, you want to respect the space of others. Unfortunately, because these people have not been raised to be out here and understand how to socialize publicly, what we're seeing is kids out here getting emotional, and when they're in these mob groups, that mob mentality takes over, and that's what happened on that bus. These kids turned from a group of rowdy teens into a violent mob, and that violent mob went out here and assaulted an older woman and looked to throw her off a bus. Again, I doubt they would have done this to a white woman because they knew about the consequences, but because many of these black children of the corn don't learn how to respect black people and see them as elders or authority figures, they thought they were justified in going out here and harming an older person. And again, it just shows how a black family unit has completely collapsed. And it's completely collapsed because we have had 60 years of white feminism influencing black single mothers. And those black single mothers sadly have gone out here and started raising these children of the corn for the last 60 years. And things in the black community have deteriorated to the point where no one has respect for elders, no one has respect for adults. And sadly, this type of disrespect for elders and adults will possibly lead to the only way you can deal with these type of rowdy individuals is when they're confronted by a white police officer. And again, if these guys go out here and can disrespect an elder, then they possibly would go out here and disrespect a police officer. And that's when these individuals will finally have to deal with some consequences where they possibly will wind up either being locked up by the police and then sent to jail where they have to deal with Bubba, Tiny, and Roscoe in the best case scenario, or the worst case scenario, they could wind up getting shot by the police because they never learned how to respect authority figures. That's the danger sign as related to these young rowdy individuals. These young rowdies don't see the road that they're on, and they don't see how their behavior is possibly going to lead to them putting their lives in jeopardy. Because yes, you can go out here and attack an older woman and believe you can get away with it, but if you run into one of these police officers, they may wind up putting you in a body bag, and that is the part that these children of the corn don't understand, because there are no parents to sit there and teach these individuals how to behave in society and how to look out for yourself as a black person. Because if you're black and you're out here participating in this kind of behavior, you're basically widening the target on your back and looking to possibly put yourself in a situation where your life winds up in jeopardy, all because you never learned how to be part of a family, you never learned how to respect authority figures, and you never learned how to respect people in the world. And again, that's just what happens when there's a complete collapse in the family. You get situations like what happened here with Kyla Thurston. I mean, this is a situation that back in the 80s or the early 90s, if somebody spoke to you like that, again, you would stop whatever you were saying and respect that person. You would show respect because you would say, look, there's an elder here, there's an authority figure here, and I need to respect this older woman because if this was my mother, I wouldn't want to be disrespectful to someone to disrespect my mother if she's talking to you. That's what a child who has been raised right would say. Okay, this is somebody's mother. I need to show respect to her the same way I would show respect to my mother. But these children of the corn, again, they never learned how to respect family or authority figures because their family was too busy working at some job or too busy in the bed with some pookie to go out here and be taught by a mother how to be able to function in society. Now, if you want to learn more about why kids behave like this, you can pre-order my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in Kindle format, and it will be coming to paperback in November. And if you want to learn why many of these boys out here act dysfunctional like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com right now in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, and want to help me be able to create more content, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Now available in paperback, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Pick up your copy of John Haynes at Death's Door at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere.